Hey everybody, I'm Mark Stanislavski, and I'm also Good Ideas Comics. And we're here in the Comic Cave in the heart of Michigan as we look over and talk about Epitaph Studios' very first comic, Heresy. And we're gonna go through it and we're gonna see if it was any good. We have a nice cover here. I mean, I will say I like the font used for the title. Um, Very nice. The cover was by Scott Rosema. If you've been around comics for a little bit, you'll know Scott Rosema. He's done some work for Marvel. He's done work for Archie. He's done work for DC. He's done work for the gaming company TSR. He's done all kinds of stuff. He's done coloring books. He's done work with Warner Brothers DreamWorks. He's had a 30-year career. And yeah, as you can see, he's a very good artist, and Epitaph Studios commissioned him to do this great cover. Now, with that being said, when I first saw this on the rack in February of 1996, which is when the book came out, I saw it and I went, "Oh man, a wraparound cover, awesome!" So I picked it up and flipped it over, and I went, "Oh, it's not a wraparound cover." Okay, well, but I always wondered if he actually did a full size, you know, wraparound cover drawing, and then Epitaph Studios just cut it in half and said, "Nah, we're just going to use that, for whatever, maybe money purposes. Who knows, right?" But yeah, no, but it's still a great cover. Cyborgs, Deathlock, looking character. It looks awesome. I don't know who this chick is, but it looks good. It looks good. So we open the book and we get a nice, credits page, a nice inside front cover. We get the indicia, and we're looking at, you know, Matt Shutt um, wrote it. Rix Noriega did the pencils. Pat Wodowitz did the inks. Melissa Knight did the letters. Now, Pat Wodowitz, when I was cracking this open again to do this video, and I looked at it, I go, wait a minute, Pat Wodowitz. It's like, I know that name, Pat Wodowitz. He's done work. He's done work for DC. It's like, I know that name. And so I did some research, and it turns out that I got the name wrong. It wasn't Pat Wodowitz that I was thinking of. It was Charles Wojciechowicz. And I don't know if I'm saying these last names right. I'm probably butchering the living heck out of them, but I got these two guys mixed up. Charles Wojciechowicz, I know what I knew his work from was Impact Comics at DC. He did the Jaguar. He did some work on the Jaguar, and I want to say he did some work on Justice League as well when they were, the Detroit Justice League. I could be wrong, but I know he definitely worked on the Jaguar for Impact Comics and DC. He was also a very good artist, by the way. So anyway, we get this first page, and I read this for a very nice first page. We're talking about this doctor, and we get this one page thing, and he's like, "Ah, yes, how do you feel about your mother?" And I was like, "Okay." And then you flip it over, nice double page spread, and it gives you some background info on Lentech Industries and how the whole part of the story is that churches and corporations have kind of merged together. So you have that big business church vibe to it. Um, this is not a bad double page spread. You can see the church and manufacturing styles kind of blend together. We got some trees here. Probably, I mean, it seems flat to me. I like the fountain. I don't know if it's the POV that the artist used, or it just seems flat. there's no depth, and I'm wondering if that has to do with the trees and the coloring. It's just very flat. I'm not really crazy about this. I guess it's a road. But okay, so we go to Lentech Industries, and then we have this full page. So we got a double page, and then we got a splash page. Now, at this point, I don't like this page at all. I don't like the figures. Everything seems off. I don't really like the chairs. And I mean, as far as I know, Rick's Noriega, this is probably the only comic maybe he ever drew and that was published. I don't know. Um, but I mean, look, the art isn't terrible. I would say it's middling. Unfortunately, when you want to make comics, and this is the first comic you're putting out there, you really need to have very good art, and this is not very good art. It's middling. It's very middling art. And then we have the cyborg character um, talking to the head of this board here, and all the board's been killed, but she hasn't been killed, and you figure out why, and it turns out that she is the cyborg's mother, and he's her son, and his name is Shemin. Now, and I thought that was interesting because it sounds very Jewish, right? Shemin. So is it possible that these characters are Jewish? Um, did some research on the name Shemin, or the word Shemin, because I was curious to see whether it did have Jewish ties, Jewish backgrounds, and it is a Hebrew word that's used a lot in the Bible for cooking oil, but it means oil, perfume, in Hebrew. And you could see the difference in spelling. It's M-A-N. This is M-E-N. I don't know if this is just a name that the writer made up, or whoever created the character made up and said we're going to go with that, or if it was done on purpose. But they don't tell you, like, it just says the church and corporations um, blended together, and they don't say what kind of church, whether it's a Catholic church. I mean, judging from the buildings that you see here, and the fact that he has a cross, that it's Catholic. So, was it meant to be a Jewish name? I don't know. Probably not. It was probably just a name. Didn't have anything to do with anything. And he's looking for. So we're back to the story, and he's looking for his sister, Arioste, which is a weird name. And she says, well, she's in the Inquisitron, which I'm not crazy about the name, because, I mean, the Inquisitron. When was the Spanish Inquisition? Back in the what 13th, 14th century. It's an old term, and I get it. You want to use, you want to bring in church terms. You want to make it seem real. But to me, if you want a torture device, you can come up with a better thing than Inquisitron. That's an old term to me that the church really wouldn't use in the present day. You could have called, you could have called it she's in, the basement. She's in, and that's enough. She's in the cage, whatever you want to call it. But no, he's ticked off, and he wants to get his sister out, and he's going to use his mom as bait, and then he's going to go on a rampage, and he's going to take down the whole Lentech Industries. And I don't think his mom likes her son very much to begin with, because he was a regular normal guy, and she turned him into this cyborg warrior guardian thing. So then we come back to this doctor, and at this point, I realize that these 2 pages and this very first page are flashbacks. And I say, oh, okay. Now, when you make a flashback, to me, this is just my opinion, when you make a comic and you make a flashback, it should be different than the rest of the book, so that when you're just flipping, even without a caption, because there are no captions that tell you it's a flashback, you should be able to say, this is different. This takes place in the past. If you're a comic reader, whether the panels have rounded edges or it's a different color. Hold on, I got an example of that. Let me show you. So this is my book that I made, Lucas Hahn, Sins of the Father, Western. And we have regular panels, coloring, they're talking about it, But the one thing I did when I wanted to do a flashback, I changed the color. I made everything sepia tone, and to give it that old-timey look. So I didn't have to, we didn't change the panel shapes or anything, but we did change the color. So for the entire series, every time we went to a flashback, and we had a good transition here because he's falling asleep, and then we're in the flashback, sepia tone, and it's a flashback. Whereas here, you don't know it's a flashback, because it just, you get into the book, and this is where they turn him into, and he's talking about how he remembered how they turned him into this cyborg thing. So yeah, when you do a flashback, make sure that the reader knows it's a flashback, either by color change, panel size, panel change, different size panels, different shape panels, something or anything for that. Just to, or even if you don't do that, if you're not going to do any of that, then you need to put a caption. Okay, you need to put a caption. 2 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, something that says, okay, so we know that when we see this scene throughout the book, we know it's a flashback to 4 years ago, or however long it was ago. So then you flip it. So now we're back in the present day, where I'm not quite sure where we are. We're in the middle of a town, and he has the woman from the cover, although she's got orange hair here and black hair on the cover, but that's fine. Obviously, there were some communication issues as to what color hair she had. But this figure, I think, should have been drawn in full. You should have had a little bit farther out, a little bit farther shot, so that this figure and these 2 figures are in the same. It's a double page. It's a double page spread. So yeah, make sure you have all of your characters on page, so that and this town, if it's a town, it looks abandoned. I mean, and I have a theory about everything that I'm going to go over pretty soon. I'm going to let you know what I think happened. And here we have a person who shot up. Don't know who that person is. He just appeared out of nowhere because he's not here, but he is there. And he's fighting some kind of robot. But I think there's a person inside that armor. So it's a suit of armor with a person inside of it. I do like this character. This character is called Apostle. And I like her. She's spunky. She's, you know, she's she's a strong female character, and we all, you know, we all collectively groan when we say strong female character because you know what that means. But no, I like that character. And for some reason, they can't seem to do anything to this this armor. Now, this page I'm not really crazy about because I guess she, I mean, he's there. So yeah, she must distract him. And then you see like his arm. I don't, this looks off. This looks, it just like, it looks like the arm is too long. It's not really, it's not great. It just looks too long. It doesn't look, you know, especially the way it comes in underneath. So, you know, apparently this suit of armor has a Achilles heel in the crotch. So you have to shoot it in the crotch and you can either kill the guy on the inside or short circuit the robot. You know, we don't know if there's a guy in there or not, but it says it's a mech, so it's a robot. So apparently this robot's Achilles heel is shooting it in the crotch. Okay, very interesting. We're you know, flashback here. And then this also is a flashback because they talk about the reason why his sister was in the Inquisitron is because she assassinated a bunch of high-level corporate CEO type figures, and that scene. So this is also a flashback of her as Arioste killing the CEOs and how she also has an implant. Heresy #2 coming in May. Heresy #2 never came out. This is the only issue that came out, and my theory is that the artist, Rix Noriega, you can see Rix Noriega there. My belief is that he drew this book on a back-end deal. And for those of you who don't know, a back-end deal is basically he drew the book for free, and they you sign a contract and they say, oh, you know, we're going to give you 50% of the profits, you know, when we sell it. This book, you know, it was going through Diamond Distribution, so you're like, okay, it's mid 90s, you know, people are making money off of comics. Yeah, I'll draw this book. A lot of times when you have artists that draw books on back end deals, you only have them for one issue because they're not going to keep making comics for free. So he drew this issue. They you know, they sold it, they distributed it, probably didn't sell enough copies. You know, I don't have numbers, but I can't imagine that it sold more than 2,000 copies, you know, 2,500 copies, maybe. So probably did not sell a lot. And then that was it. Rick said, no, I'm not going to draw another book. And obviously, and I think this is their second book, Bloodfang. And 2 issues of this came out. This came out in March of '96. They had a 0 issue and a #1 issue, and then that probably didn't sell either because that was the end. They probably lost money and they just folded up shop, and that was the end of Epitaph Studios. But I I'd like to find these books. But originally, I thought only one issue came out, issue 0. Discovered that issue number 1 also came out. Um, and I looked on eBay, and at the time that I looked, I only found one copy, one person selling issue 1 of Bloodfang, and he was in the United Kingdom, and he wanted like $30 for the book. Which, yeah, I could see that. I mean, these are low print books, right? These are scarce books. They're hard to find. Sales print runs of only 2 to 3,000 max. So once again, we keep talking in all my videos about print runs and how Marvel and DC, books, they have books with 25,000, 30,000, and they're calling those low print run. Those are not low print run books. I don't care what you say, they're not. And then, of course, we have other characters that they wanted to showcase here. This is Gallo. Who did Gallo? Brent Nelson. 1995, Brent Nelson. I don't know Brent Nelson. But I would imagine that he was in the same universe as Heresy. I mean, I like the art. You see, good art here. You have a great cover here. When you're going to put out books, you need better interior art than this. And then they had Covenant, who probably also was part of the Heresy universe. And who did this? This is Troy Graham and Pat Wojtowicz. Okay, because they were part of Epitaph Studios. Troy Graham and Pat Wojtowicz are Epitaph Studios along with these other people. I will say also I think you also need better printing quality. It seems like they really, in some of these pages, the lettering is super hard to read. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of weird how that's all done. And this is probably all done by, 1996. There wasn't too much computer lettering going on. But some of these, like there's, you can see if you look close, there's like a double. It's like it's a copy of a copy, and it's very, yeah, it's very low res, and I think you just need better print quality, especially the cover. It doesn't look like high res. It looks like like when they printed it, the lens was smeared with Vaseline. It doesn't look clear. It doesn't look so. But yeah, Covenant again, good art. It looks like an interesting character. And Bloodfang also looks like an interesting character. Not sure if Bloodfang is part of the same universe. I would imagine that it is. That it's the same universe as Heresy. Yeah, and I mean the whole dysfunctional family dynamic, and I'm wondering if the writer Matt Shutt was going to play on that, on the dysfunctional family. Come on, on the whole dysfunctional family angle. We'll never know. When I pulled this out to do this video, I read the book, and then I read it again, and then I read it a third time. And the more times I read it, the more story elements that I got into. And I went, okay, this, I'm wondering if they're going to go somewhere with this, if they're going to, the whole, are they Jewish? Yes, they're a dysfunctional family. I want to know more about how the church and these corporations merged. And, I did want to know more. And I would have bought more issues had they come out just to see where they were going to go with it, because I'm a comic reader and I'll give every book, I'll give them 3 issues. Okay, you give me everything in 3 issues. You know, you're going to give me the characters, you're going to give me what the story's about, you're going to give me the art, the lettering, and everything. And the lettering I'm not crazy about in this book, and we're going to go over. There's another book pretty soon that we're going to go over, which has lettering that's tough to read, and we're going to talk about when you letter comics. You know, it's a little easier now because there's computers. You can letter comics by computer, so it's more readable. Whereas back in the day, when you had to do it by hand, or you know, I knew some people who like, and I don't know how they did this, but they would put the lettering, they would like type it out on a computer, print it out, and then cut out those words to put it in a word balloon. You know, it was already formatted for the balloon. Don't ask me how they did it. That must have taken forever. But yeah, you see this right here? This is all blurry down here. Yeah, I mean, you can read it, but it's hard to read. It's very blurry. Um, but yeah, so is Heresy a good book? It's okay. It's not. I mean, I've read a lot worse books, and um, you know, one of the first videos that I did was about a book that was not good. It was not good at all. And this one's okay. Again, it's tough to say a book is good or not good with just one issue. It's almost impossible. Like I said, there were story elements here that I think if the writer was able to expand upon, it might have been a decent book. And then you have the other characters and books, you know, Gallo and Covenant and Bloodfang and all these other characters coming in. You know, obviously they wanted to build towards something, but it just didn't work out. So that's too bad, but that's all right. So there's our video. Thank you for sticking around. If you're still here, we got a little video epilogue coming up, so don't miss that. And hey, have a good day, and we'll see you in the funny pages. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. You guys are the best, and I truly appreciate you. Just a side note, I not only talk about comics and collect comics and review comics and love comics, I also make comics. And these are some of the comics that I've made. And if you're interested in, there's a wide variety of genres. You can go to www.goodideascomics.com, as you can see in the banner, and you can order them there. Or if you don't want to order them from a website, I can understand that. You can email me at goodideascomics@gmail.com, and we'll hook you up with some of this great stuff. Indie books are the best, and you guys are the best. Thank you very much. See you in the funny pages.